I stand before you today, a free man, no chains, no masters.
The fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up...
We talk about like the age of information. What we really are in right now is an entertainment age.
They still want to shoot you. They killed Charlie Kirk. They praised it. They want Donald Trump. They want Chirachik. They want anyone they associate with the right. They want to kill them. They brag about this. They continue on with this. It's been over a month and they're still going on about it. At some point, you got to say, hey, maybe that's me too.
Hello world champions, I'm John Ward, and today on Breaking News we are breaking the fake lie continuum. Get ready for 1.21 gigawatts McFly, because your mind is a boomer expat and this episode is the Bangkok Ladyboy Softball Club, and hardballs are also okay too, also that club. Sorry, we know good English. And what I mean by that is, not only is your mind about to be blown more times than a lead in a LeBron James Finals series, it's going to get blown in ways you don't want it to. A horror in the midst of which you will realize this is the real soul crusher. You're paying for it.
A free man, no chains, no
compromise, but it is a compromise nonetheless going to have to be made if we are to ever revamp and rework the system, ultimately in an attempt to circumvent any kind of violent revolution.
This is the future. There is nothing left for us to do. They have taken it away from, they have stolen it from us. They are thieves. They have no idea what is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of NAV. We welcome you here today. We weren't that late today. We weren't that late today. You know, somebody's missing. He's been replaced. Not replaced, temporarily. We'll get to that here in a second. Maybe that's the we'll blame it on him. That's why we weren't. That's why we weren't that late today. But no. Welcome. We got Sammy in the chat. Appalachian Goy in the chat. Lord of the Reed, Gen Z Goy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here. This is a new episode of NAV. If you would like to support us, please do that. We accept all kinds of funds. Check out the merch channel. That's on the merch link on our channel. Also in the description. Check out the memberships. Go ahead and click on that. I think that's what, $5 a month. Support us there. Eventually, we're going to get to more members things. Last night there was a Groyper report that did members only, or I think that y'all attempted to do members only call-ins. Anyway, it's going to do the future is going to be members only and do call-ins. So that's going to be fun. And but it was a good show last night. If anybody's here that's new, NAV is a place where we host different types of genre of content. And one is Groyper Report. And today we have the Founders Show, which is we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment and how that has evolved over time. What does it look like? Is there any use for it anymore? You know, kind of those questions moving forward. Also, we have Outside the Overton on Tuesdays, Factions on Wednesdays, and Real Talk on Thursdays. And Friday is kind of up in the air, kind of filled with debates, filled with whatever kind of happens to be happening at that time. So real quick, we're going to introduce everyone. Josh, as always.
Joshua Vandernoord. Happy to be here on... Are we calling this show Founders? Or is it just NAV Show? NAV Show, yeah. I like Founders.
Whatever comes out. Atlas.
RKD for NJF.
Oh boy. Oh boy. That's not John. Who is it though? Who
It's
is it?
Frank. It is your local chat Caesar. I'm glad to hail from the studio. Well, my studio, my office today to replace John Ward today. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us, but I'm happy to join in on the conversation for this Sunday episode. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here. We're going to have a good conversation. I think you will add a lot to that conversation. Jumping back on that, sending us money. Super chats are open, and like I said, membership. So we appreciate y'all for stopping by today. We're going to get into this. We're going to kick it off with Atlas, and then we're just going to dive into the discussion after Atlas kind of gives us a little summary on the basically 250 years of the Second Amendment.
All right, we ready, boys?
Send it.
Here we go. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, ratified on December 15th, 1791, as part of the Bill of Rights, states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Oh, forgive me, I'm missing a portion of it. Apologize.
Go for it.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Its text has never been formally amended. What people sometimes call variations are mostly minor ratification error differences in punctuation and capitalization across state copies, not later changes to the amendment itself. At the founding, the amendment reflected two linked aims: preserving citizen militias as a safeguard for a free republic and preventing the new federal government from disabling state defense by disarming the populace. It also fit within an Anglo-American tradition, recognizing lawful weapons possession, including for personal and communal defense. For much of American history, the Second Amendment was treated largely as a restriction on the federal government, while states regulated arms through their own constitution and police powers. Supreme Court doctrine shifted over time. In United States v. Miller in 1939, the Supreme Court upheld a federal ban on short-barreled shotguns and suggested the amendment protected arms connected to militia usefulness, a framing that guided lower courts for decades. District of Columbia v. Heller in 2008 dramatically reoriented the law, holding that the Second Amendment protects an individual right independent of militia service, with self-defense in the home at its core. Heller also emphasized that the right is not unlimited and left room for long-standing regulations such as bans on felons possessing firearms and restrictions on dangerous and unusual weapons. McDonald v. Chicago in 2010 applied the Second Amendment to state and local governments through the 14th Amendment, making Heller's individual right rule nationally binding. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Brune in 2022 extended protection to carrying handguns in public for self-defense and required gun laws to be justified by historical analogs from early American tradition rather than modern cost-benefit balancing. Since Brune, courts have continued to redefine and refine the boundaries of permissible regulation, and many challenges remain active, showing that while the amendment's words are unchanged, its legal reach continues to evolve. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
I think that's the key point, and I think moving forward, we kind of need to keep in mind a Chuckian mindset, if you will, guys. A little Chuckian mindset. That's kind of what we are debating here. I know there's not much of a debate on in. I don't know where we all stand. I think we probably fall in the same ballpark. So I think we need to maybe ghost a constitutionalist over here somewhere. We're gonna get the boomer over here. Get our boomer over here, Josh. I'll get him in a second. We'll get him set up. But that's it moving forward. Atlas, you want to kind of, I don't know, take away from that somewhere? What was your main takeaway from that? Obviously, the primary being shall not be infringed, except for all the infringing.
Well, I think it's one of these things that's like self-evident. You look at the Second Amendment and the way that it has evolved between all these court cases, and those are just a few. There's been a number of cases that have actually kind of evolved the way we've engaged with the law. And overall, they've kind of recognized the powers that be won't be able to get the guns away. And so they moved recently in the last 10, 15 years to placing restrictions, right? This is when we get the SBRs, we're getting the different stocks, the bump stocks, we're getting, magazine capacity restrictions. Overall, though, I think I would push this, which is the Second Amendment's first and foremost primary duty was to defend against tyranny. And I think when you look at the current state of America, we are under tyranny. So I think the Second Amendment has failed in terms of its robust nature. And I think, as we've all recognized, we're in the information age, the entertainment age, the attention age. And I think that we do need to look at what other protections should actually be installed alongside the Second Amendment, knowing that we've kind of moved away from kinetic warfare to a lot more of psychological and informational warfare. And that'd be my broad takeaways. The Second Amendment needs added to, not taken away. Josh is muted.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Josh. I'll take over. My stance here is
all right. Fixed it.
Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. Please, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I just heard there, and I'm sure chat heard it as well, is that we're seeing judges they're taking on a power I don't think is theirs. Yes, they're supposed to understand what the law is saying and kind of feed it back to us, but to take something like that and translate it into something you absolutely know it's not, and then it opens those gates for those demons of the senators to make laws that infringe upon it. So, and we can see that in today's society as well. All these judges coming in, making decisions like it's their job to be the executive branch or, the legislative branch. And that's not their duty. So these judges making these sentences or these statements on these laws allow the congressmen to come in and infringe upon this constitutional right that you and I both all have. So I think the issue here starts with judges, and we can see this is a tactic from political congressmen to use judges in order to advance the things they can't do because of the Constitution or because of laws they've written in. So this is kind of where I stand. I think our judges need to have a good hard look at and remove a lot of them.
Can you hear me? Everyone hear me all right? So,
Yeah,
I basically, to piggyback of what you guys are saying, I completely agree. I think that the gun control issue is something that is really downstream from a lot of the issues that we're really facing here. And it is the fact that we don't really have a true say in what's going on in our country. And yes, to me, I don't know about you guys, but the gun control thing was always like slop. It was something, that they basically put in conservatives' faces to distract them from the bigger issues. And I still think that is the case, which is why I'm actually excited to be talking about it today, because this is one of those things where I'm kind of in the middle on this. I don't have like a solid opinion, like, should we keep it? Should we get rid of it? We're in a different world than 1776. And I think it's something worth discussing. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the different takes from you guys today.
And, Resident Boomer, anything on the Second Amendment, sir, Bobby Boomer? He's pretty solid.
They're gonna take our guns.
The Constitution, the Constitution. It says the Constitution.
Zeb, if they take away my 9mm, then I won't be able to defend myself from drone strikes.
He might visit us again today. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess my position is a little bit more beyond. I mean, from a 30,000-foot view, I mean, the Constitution and at least all of the amendments prior to like the 13th were written specifically for what I deem Americans, what should and ought to be defined as Americans. And so therefore, when they were written and as they are written now, it should only apply to and for Americans. That being said, the restriction for that should also be applied to non-Americans. They should not have the so-called right. We can argue rights, yes or no. Do they exist? What is a right? But I guess for the sake of this 2-hour-long discussion that we're about to have, maybe we get into that. But what is a right? And I think the most fundamental right, if they are to exist at all, is the one to defend yourself. And so does the federal government, or should they, or ought they be able to restrict that? And I think that is the question. I don't. It seems like we don't have any Second Amendment absolutist on the panel today.
I would be an absolutist if we had the America that the Constitution and that amendment was made for.
Absolutist in the
Yes.
sense that I guess it's like, I think it's required. Some form of a Second Amendment is required.
It's required still to protect the Americans that it should be protecting.
Absolutist in the sense that it should not be infringed. Absolutist in the sense that if I want to go buy an F-35, who's to stop me?
Yeah, I mean, I want to own an F-35. I'm going to crash that.
I'm okay with
I
that.
want a Harrier.
Yeah.
I want an A-10 Warthog.
Yes.
Mr. Airplane Autistic over here would love an F-35.
I would. You could even take the guns out of it. Just give me the whole thing. Give me a, what was it? F-35. Give me a J F-35.
Give Josh the F-35. Take all the guns out and let me have them.
Yeah.
That's a deal, dude.
But like,
That's
let's
a
be
deal.
honest. Like, if I'm going to be honest about it, 10 years ago, I would have been like, "What are we talking about? Why are we even talking about this? This is absolutely silly." But we can see that the America that we have nowadays, and the people within it, one, aren't American, and two, don't deserve this right and aren't entitled to this right. And because that, these people keep saying that it's a blank statement that all people get the rights of Americans, then we're letting bad people in, and those bad people are destroying the right that that is so graciously given to us. And because of that, I can't be an absolutist. I think there's a lot of people we should take guns away from.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was going to extend this later on, but Tix Brommer brought it up in the chat right now. He said there's a lot of people getting stabbed today, and I think the one that comes to mind immediately is Erna Zarutska. We have Austin Metcalf. We have one yesterday, just again in Charlotte.
What?
I'm pretty sure. If not, it was in Chicago or somewhere. But anyway, they were stabbed on the bus again. It's like this is just okay. It doesn't matter if you take the guns away from these people; they're going to find knives. You can look at in Europe and see the exact same thing happening. So, it's not the guns, guys. It's not the guns.
Well, and you actually, the incident you brought up in Charlotte, I can't believe I forgot. But yeah, so essentially, Irina Zarutska, the same thing happened again. Same train, same type of thing. I don't know if the person who was stabbed was white, but there was another stabbing on the train. So guess the National Guard being there does nothing. Thanks, Donald Trump.
Bad people are going to do bad things no matter what, whether they have a right to it or not. And that's the unfortunate business of the state of humanity. I would say of humanity that we're living in here. Obviously, Christ is needed in our nation more than ever, is a big part of that. But the people that this nation was built for are becoming a minority, and their culture is being wiped out. And the people that are replacing us don't deserve this right because they're not within a competency level, IQ level, emotional intelligence level to handle this type of right. They murder each other on a daily basis, wherever they're from.
So I cut Atlas off earlier, kind of asking the question of, you mentioned you were somewhat of an absolutist. I guess in what sense?
Absolutist in the sense that, like, the same way that there's like you look at the power hegemony in like the Middle East, right? It's because there's a huge disparity between the power levels. Same thing applies here in the government. It's like, it's good to have it for self-defense. That's one thing, but the primary purpose is that it should be putting us on an equal playing field with the government. And right now we don't have that. I mean, like, where's the people's nuclear armaments at? Like, we have no access to that. So we are, by far and large, I mean, it's ultimately worthless to us in terms of
I need to call Ben
tyranny.
Shapiro. If I can call Ben Shapiro, I can get my own nukes. That's how that works, right?
We can't, we can't even make
call your uncle, actually. Call your uncle
handler.
and then work out of a Pennsylvania plant.
But yeah, to your point, Atlas, I mean, at this point, I don't know if it's possible to even get anywhere close to a level playing field with the federal government. I mean, we can look throughout history. They're going to hunt you down. You can't run away. And so the only other option at some point is to fight. All right. They're going to come after Arval. He's trying to run away to some extent. There's the Ozarks. There's the Ridge USA that they're trying to do these things. And I'm all for it, dude. If you can make it happen, make it happen. But eventually it's going to come to you. Now I don't know if we can fight the federal government, at least on a military level, but I think local police, man, I mean, they have assets, but it's not anything nuclear. Does that make
Numbers matter.
sense?
Right.
Well, I mean, I find it. I get where we're coming from here, guys, but like I find it preposterous that there would be some such civil discohesion that the federal government, no matter who was running it, I don't know about that, maybe, but would nuke the continental United States.
You ever seen a woman on her period?
You don't think?
You ever seen a woman on her
No.
period?
You
She
don't
would
think
nuke
these,
it out of
dude?
her ex-boyfriend, dude.
In a second, it might not be a nuke, but they would do it.
Oh, they drop bombs in the continental United States, but a nuclear bomb? I don't think so.
Okay,
it's a little narrow-sighted. Think about biological warfare. I think they're moving away from nukes, right? I think that biological warfare is more of the element they've been playing with lately. And I mean, you wouldn't need a nuke at that point, right? If they unleash some kind of, think about the one that's being floated around recently, right? So there's thoughts that this tick that's giving people an allergy to red meat was like a design thing.
Yeah.
And so like there's certain things that like you won't need a nuke, you won't need mass fallout. But if all of a sudden overnight, people are dying in 48 hours because of some disease, I mean, you're gonna have chaos in 2 seconds.
That's a good point, Atlas. That's a really good point. And when we say nuke, I just say nuke. I mean, a lot of times it's just proverbial, meaning that this is something extreme. I know there's obviously a technical aspect to it, but even the nukes that we have aren't as big as some of the larger bombs. But speaking on the tick that literally gives you allergens to red meat, which is absolutely insane. I mean, these are things that can't be shot with a gun. I know there's been plenty of movies, military movies, where the military's been fighting this thing that can't be shot. It's like that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Is we want to come together and build something and protect ourselves, but it's quite literally impossible.
Well, I think what we're getting at here is that this idea that we as citizens are going to arm ourselves with stuff we got, like guns we got at the flea market, and defend ourselves against a military occupation. That's just not going to happen. The point we're getting at here with the Second Amendment is basically this idea: the Second Amendment, as it exists in the Constitution, is redundant. There's no way the civilian population is going to be able to truly defend itself from the federal government. Now, but the thing is like, I don't think it's not impossible, but I don't think it's likely that they'll pin us against each other before it's like all American citizens or all people in the continental United States versus the government. This idea of like a civil war, I've heard like boomers have been talking about the Civil War. It's coming. This is a fantasy. This is something that just can't happen. It won't happen.
I think, well, two things. One, I'll agree with your first point, and I think you could only have said that first point in the modern age. I think you go back 100 years, your first point's blown out of the water, right?
Yes.
It was our founding fathers took on the world's largest navy, right? I mean, like, it's been done before, it could be done again. To the later point, though, I think specifically, though, in terms of like the Civil War, like it can't happen, that goes back into the idea that like everyone in government's all in on it. That's not the reality. You have people in higher levels, mid levels, low levels, all spread out, and there's factions here. So the reality is you could have opposing people at the highest levels. I mean, I think we already saw pieces of this between like Mike Waltz, Hegseth, JD Vance, and others. Between the Signal group chat, it looks like even inside the cabinet, there are like opposing factions in there. And so I think that the idea that a civil war would be impossible or couldn't happen, I think that's too absolute. I think what you could say is, in fact, it would be a civil conflict and it would be one-sided, lopsided, and be quickly over. That's probably a better way to put it.
Well, I am a Sith Lord, so I only deal in absolutes.
I would say we're already in a civil Cold War. We're in a Cold War, Civil War. As in, there's a war raging that we, the American people, do not actually see. It's not fought with guns. It's obviously not fought with bodies that are piling up. It's not fought with your neighbors. It is being fought by the elites and the people in control and wanting to be in control. And it's fought with information, it's fought with blackmail, it's fought with money, and it's fought with those types of powers versus firearms, bombs, and the like. So I think there is a civil war going on. It's just behind the curtains that we get to, and we get to watch the circus that's happening in front of the curtains. But really, I think there's something obviously going on in the background. Whatever it is, there's also the take that, well, they're all just working together. But I feel like not everybody has the same idea of the future. I don't think anybody will ever have the same idea of the future. I think there's always going to be conflicting opinions and thoughts and how they want to run things. And I think there's people coming into power with more money and more influence than any other time and period in the last, I'd say, 100 years. It's been the oil, it's been banks, and now we're seeing an oligarch power of technology, types of people coming into the fray and into throwing their hat in the ring into this Cold War, I would say, is a civil war. So I think there is stuff going on behind the doors. It's just not people dying in the streets at the moment. But I think we saw people dying in the streets. We saw the COVID effect. We saw, what was it else? What was the other thing that they just did? Fentanyl. That's a chemical. That's literally a chemical weapon. It's not a drug. It's not meant to be a drug. It's made to be a chemical weapon to kill you. And it only kills people that are susceptible to taking drugs. It's not like the rich elite are out there going, I'm going to, buy cocaine and methamphetamines and kill myself with this chemical weapon I'm unleashing upon the people. So there's chemical weapons happening all over the place to bring to Atlas's point. And this is how they were killing us. And now we can kind of see that stopping because there is a civil war going on behind the scenes. I just called it a Cold War. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I would second that. There's obviously something going on behind the scenes. I mean, everybody knows me. The question is how much of everybody is a Fed and who isn't. And I think they all are. Surprise, surprise. But that being said, I mean, there's obviously some push and pull that's going on. There was specifically with the first Trump administration. Trump obviously doesn't have control of his CIA, even if you grant that Donald Trump has bought or had his arm twisted by China and Netanyahu and everybody else to and fro. He still doesn't have control of the federal government across the board. I think specifically with CIA, and so there's some civil war happening on the inside. But that being said, there's a suppression of the people, and we're going to get into this in the second half of using the local law enforcement and even state law enforcement to enforce things on the American people so that they don't or they won't have any major pushback. And so this is what's going to happen. It's essentially lawfare that has been weaponized, right? They weaponize our own systems against us. And that's what this is coming to. It's so that a civil war doesn't happen. And I guess we'll get to that here in a little bit later. But I mean, as a general civil war, I'm kind of with Josh. I mean, it's not gonna be North versus South anymore.
No.
And I've said this, and I've said this before. There's gonna be, you're already seeing the balkanization of people moving from New York to Tennessee, or from California to South Carolina, or from Ohio to Florida, whatever. You're watching the migration of people into what is going to shape up to be the balkanization, the regionification of America. Now, what does it look like on the other end? I don't think it looks like a country, but I do think the American nation can maintain itself.
Yeah, and I would say to the point about the Civil War, I'm sort of operating on the definition of it from something I've heard from like boomers, family members, my whole life being in the South. It is a fantasy that like the silent majority is going to be so fed up that they rise up against the federal government and we're going to overthrow it. I almost think that's kind of an intentional fantasy put forth because it is an unwinnable scenario. So all the people can do is think about it and fantasize about it. What Atlas said, where maybe there's division at the top and then that sort of splinters out into conflict, much more likely, much more possible. However, I would even contend that though there are factions and that they have conflict, they push and pull up against each other, I think the factions are close enough to where an actual conflict escalating to that degree also still not likely. But you are right. Like when these conflicts happen, it happens in isolation and then sort of subtly trickles down. I don't really have any examples off the top of my head, but there's like political discohesion in Israel. And we're not seeing that play out. That's happening behind closed doors for the most part. Yeah, like Jews aren't a monolith. They disagree on things, but at the end of the day, they will rally. And that's how I feel about these factions. You might have Russia bump heads with Israel, but are they gonna get to the point where they're gonna go to war with each other over something like financials or money or something? I just don't think it's possible, or don't think it's likely.
Two points to that. The factions things, absolutely. What's going on behind the scenes are at the top. We play as a majority of people, no part in that. But the point I sort of made a little bit on my last statement there is it being one party or one goal. We're still going to be slaves. Whoever wins the civil war that's going on at the top of the elite chains, the people are still going to be slaves. That's the ultimate intent of both sides. Is just, how are you going to be a slave? Are you going to be replaced and murdered off, or are you going to be turned into like some AI managed KPI? So these are the things. So on that point, we're still going to be slaves no matter who wins currently at the top. The second point there was you said the fantasy of us never rising up again, or it is a fantasy, right? People wish that they could just walk outside and start murdering the people that they hate, right? They wish there was this outlawness to us, with this old American wild west way where we can take it upon ourselves to go and eradicate the evil from our nation. Everybody, I think, well, not everybody, but a lot of people would love that opportunity. But I would say that given the right leader, anything can happen.
I would say this.
Go ahead, Alex.
I would respond to all of it because I would say I think to chalk it up to being very unlikely is too zoomed in. I think you have to zoom out. You have to look at the fact that there are other world powers. We are right now in a struggle, right? And over the last 10 years, many people have pinned us in being Thucydides' trap, right? Trying to understand some of the motives and policies from the United States, seeing as it looked like we were kind of going to give it up to China almost. And I think that's how you look at all these when you look at empires falling, it was largely not really even from the inside. It was pressures from outside nations and other things going on. And so I think there is an element in which you could get people where it's like, you get China in somebody's ear, China gets an agent further up into the system that could cause some real kind of damage. You could get a Russian agent deep inside the system, could cause some real kind of damage, particularly if it does push us over the edge. And you look at as well too, economically, right? The ladder's being pulled up to such an insane degree so quickly, right? I read this stat off the other day. 40% of people who are making over $300,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. When those people begin to get threatened, those who actually have assets and such, they're going to begin to make choices. And that's what I would apply to many of these situations. And it's in history. You look at throughout history, there's many moments where a general decided, you know what, I think my king is wrong and I'm going to do this instead. And that caused or began a civil conflict, and somebody wins, then that can turn into a differing of a nation. And also you got to think about AI. AI is right around the corner. We're about to enter a period in which video may not even be anything as a testimony in court cases. We're going to have somebody in every single court case determining if this video is real or not. And I think there's a lot of things that are question marks, if you will, right? A mystery box are about to unfold as we continue this journey through modernity. And so I think to say that anything's unlikely, I think is to assume too much.
Not to touch on anything specific there and kind of bring it back to, where we're at as the Second Amendment. A lot of stuff you brought up, Atlas, is very non-tangible, right? It's not something that is going to be a kinetic war. It's used in a kinetic war, right? AI will be, but it is a weapon against the digital aspects of things. It could be used for tactics and whatever else that comes from that. But I guess we're kind of talking Second Amendment here. Me running around, no matter how big my gun is, I can't shoot the AI inside the computer, right? And so I guess this, if we are looking at some type of civil war, if we are looking at some type of new revolution, if you will, we need to take that into effect. And probably, I'm not saying we need to build something beyond open AI ChatGPT and Grok and whatever else everybody has building. But at some point, they are guns pointed at us.
You just need to know where the power grid is. AI needs power.
Unplug it.
Just no, I mean, it needs power. There's okay. So with licenses, there's lots of things you can buy: explosives, tanks, whatever. You just need certain licenses and certain clearances to get them. And there's certainly several amount of people in this country that have those and are willing to stand up against tyranny. But the problem is we don't have satellites, I think, is the biggest thing, because when it comes to war and the fog of war, intel is the biggest decider in who wins and who loses, and being able to encrypt and code and have intelligence. So satellites, drones, cameras, these types of things, there's no hiding, there's no planning, when you have none of that, where you can't even meet up to know your strategy and strategize and come together like that, because they just watch you on a satellite, they know exactly where you are, and they drop a bomb on you. These types of things, intelligence is where we're lacking, I would say. But when it comes to AI or any kind of thing that uses power, it's a power grid situation. You can just cut off power. You can take over a power grid very simply until they bomb you, but then they're bombing their own power grid. So that's okay on my book. I think the biggest problem we have standing up against a federal government or a giant army like that is, or like say Elon Musk were to have a faction, he has satellites, he has intel, he has that kind of power. So I think that's where we would fall short.
I'll just get in a Cessna and fly over and with binoculars. That'll be our satellite.
There you go. little dodo plane.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you still have to battle it out in the court of public opinion, right? The whole Israel's 8-front war. They would glass that entire region, and they have the ability to do so. The reason why they can't is because the court of public opinion matters. And so we're still kind of under the gun of how the public thinks and feels. And that's to say, like, you can never forget just how delicate the hand of the oppressor is. And that's to say, like, they would be doing much worse if the people being mad about it wouldn't be such a consequential, barrier to them getting done what they need done. So what I mean by that is, if it was to escape into the mass, right, if we were very, very, very certain the U.S. government was committing tyranny and the people reached a mass point, they would be very restricted to be able to do anything. And once they do begin to turn the guns on the people, that moment can never be taken back. And the moment that does happen, they do forever lose power, right? And it's going to, from that moment on, it's just a ticking time bomb until people get into that room in the French Revolution, right? And so I think that's why it's very important to maintain that kind of pragmatic sense and approach, is because they are still playing by the rules in terms of, we can't piss people off too much, otherwise we lose the ball, we lose the game.
Yeah, I think the point you made that the court of public opinion matters, I think it's probably one of the only things that matters, or is going to matter here in the near future. Right now, we obviously have some courts that do matter. Maybe not the courts themselves, but the judges, right? We just had a guy get let off basically for free, filed under self-defense because somebody that he stabbed said a bad word after he stabbed him, and then he stabbed him again a few more times. And so he was, it was called self-defense because he used a word. And I think we need to understand that these judges have this kind of power to let these people back on the streets. I know we talk about Ernest Zaruska with like 400 re-releases or whatever. It was like 40. But, and the same thing with the chick down here at USC, same thing with, it's just over and over. These people have dozens, if not dozens on dozens of, arrest and releases. This one in particular was a straight up, it's not, I guess he's not going to die, so it's not really a murder, but it's like, okay, dude said a bad word, so therefore violence, okay. And it's like, okay, if they're equating language with violence, we need to recognize that, and not allow ourselves to be, one, try not to be put in that situation, but when you are, you definitely need to be able to protect yourself. At least
judges, exactly. I was going to say, with judges like that, I need the right to protect myself.
Correct. Real quick, Semi Shreds says NAD needs a team of hackers. Frank, I think that's you, dude.
That's me. Your Caesar's here for you.
We're building a team. If you have some hackers, send them our way.
Very 90s.
Very Angelina Jolie. Have you seen that one, Josh?
Is there a movie called Hacker? No, I've not seen it.
Yeah. Oh, it's Angelina Jolie, and it's pretty funny. Not funny. It's good.
Okay. I don't know. Angelina Jolie. Well, anyway, we won't get too off topic here. Maybe we'll have you on Real Talk, Frank. You'll be a guest speaker.
I just need my Second Amendment to include me owning an Angelina Jolie and everything.
State mandated Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. Every man deserves to arm himself and have a woman.
Dude, you give it 5 years, I promise you those Chinese factories will be pushing out Angelina Jolie's.
You're so right, though.
To go back to the Second Amendment, though, the point that I made, and probably my broadest position on it, is that it does need to be made robust. In the sense that, like, arms needs to be defined as something as broad as, like, anything that can and should be used in any kind of armed or otherwise informal or formal conflict. I mean, it needs to be just as broad as literally humanly possible. And it needs to be, like, things that encompass, like, and I said this, I think, on the Gripper report, but it needs to be conjoined with, like, the Fourth Amendment, right, with protections of privacy, because that's kind of where we're going. You know, Palantir's not going to be, you know, pushing you out once you go out your front door. It's not going to be bullying you. It's going to be digging into your data. So we need protections conjoined with the Second and Fourth Amendment that protect from AI takeover or AI overreach. The only thing is there's no hunger for it, and you can tell there's no hunger for it because the Second Amendment's being treated the way it is. And it's unfortunate because we almost had a 10-year kind of centralization of AI get snuck into the big, beautiful bill. And luckily, I think it was Thomas Massey and a few others called that out, and they pulled it out the last minute. So with that moving forward, I think it's very clear, like, we need some form of protection against that kind of overreach, that kind of pre-crime 1984 George Orwellian system.
If AI is going to be used as a weapon, I agree. Right now, there's no restrictions on the public. Right. No, you're right. No, you're right. You're not. When and it is already being used as a weapon. So far, there's no restrictions on a civilian and what they can do with AI. They just don't have the means and capital to build something as big or as strong as what's currently being used against you. That's the only problem there. But when you start botnetting and adding everybody's computer together, there isn't an AI out there that can't be taken down.
And similarly to the biological warfare with the chemicals and these diseases, there's a real possibility that what the government's doing, they'll lose control of.
Yep.
You know, nuclear weapons would have resulted in, like, a big, you know, fallout and nuclear radiation, but like that you can clean up. With an AI, you make a super AI and it starts dominating the world. I mean, what's the response to that?
Power grids.
Right.
You had to,
and then you'll find that it was so smart at, like, you can't turn them off. You know, it's going to have, like, things built up, protections for it. It'll be, like, very Matrixy, I would imagine.
They built a Dyson sphere.
Do you think? I mean, you keep saying power grids. I mean, is there not a world in which they build enough? I don't know, alternative solar power to be able to store that locally?
Right now, they're actually working on laws and passing, lifting restrictions on small, singular nuclear, not like a nuclear plant, but small and individual. Thank you, a reactor. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So they're actually passing these laws and trying to lift these restrictions on nuclear reactors for personal uses. So if, say, OpenAI got their own nuclear reactor, then they don't have to rely on the power grid of anybody around you. Then you and I'm sure they would just, you know, put so much security and defense around that power grid and their data center that it would take an army to have to take it. And that's where we're getting into, because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not wrong here, that like an EMP would not wipe out a nuclear reactor, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that.
So it's in different forms.
Okay, go ahead, Alice.
Well, like, just for example, like the emergency power grid's not on the same regular grid. I mean, that's I think an obvious one. And like, there's already very poor protections. This is like very poor industrial controls. There's a story I read not too long ago, and I think even Nick talked about this. There were squatters that had taken over an apartment area, and they were literally siphoning power from the emergency exit signs.
Mm-hmm.
They had rerouted the power from the signs into their apartments that would give them power enough to at least like do some simple things. And I think that's one thing that's been talked about for a long time. But that was even talked about in fears of like cyber attacks, right? You have guys coming on and talking about you could jam a flash drive into this industrial system and it'll take it down in 2 hours. It's like that. These are huge problems we need to make sure we can get in front of, because we already are in a very poor situation in America in terms of manufacturing, capability.
Yeah, and when you put everything on the internet, then everything is a weapon. Everything can be turned into a weapon. Like I could hack a hospital, lock all the doors, turn the AC down to 35, and turn on the water sprinklers and watch you freeze to death. It's just one of these situations where you don't need to put this stuff on the internet because it's just not needed, because there's just more ways for people to get in, people to watch you, people to add malicious, malware against you, steal your identities, whatever it may be. When people start putting their thermostats online, then the power companies can start siphoning or watching how much energy you use, control what your thermostat can be set at. They can control your refrigerator. Like, putting this stuff online that doesn't need to be put online just opens yourself up for less rights and freedom of choice. And this is all circling back to the Second Amendment, because it's all about this choice, this right that you have for protecting yourself, for making the choices that you have. And it all comes down to control. And these people are trying to control every aspect of your life to make you a slave in that way. Sorry.
I thought you were going to go.
No, I was going to send it to you. We're coming up on an hour here in a second. Unless y'all have anything to add to that, we're going to jump into, I got a short little video for you to start us off for the next one. Anything else? And we'll continue the conversation on the back end.
Any favorite demographic to take guns away from first? Atlas, go.
Somalians.
Good answer. I vote
all
Italians.
Black people.
Yeah, all Black people.
That includes Italians.
That's okay.
No, I'm not. You're not. No.
Sicilians, get them out of here.
No. I'll hide my dad in the attic.
Yeah, it's just one of these things where you look at statistics, you say who's the most violent, and you take it away from those people. It's that simple. It's got nothing to do with me saying, well, just because I dislike blacks, that's the reason why. No, it's literally statistical that you're the most violent people in this country, and you don't deserve that right to kill somebody that quickly. Now you can kill me with a car, you can kill me with a knife, you can kill me with a bat, but as long as the women especially have this way of leveling the playing field and defending themselves against these violent criminals, then I think that's where we should be. You come at me with a knife, you're going to lose. I'm going to put 3 bullets in your chest. So it's just one of those things.
Well, I think at least my position on it is more along the lines of, if your people are incapable of creating the thing with the technology, you should not be able to use it.
I like that.
So Section 8 housing should be mud huts?
Yes. Section 8 housing shouldn't exist if we're doing it.
As long as we're doing it. Get the straw and clay.
Frank, I think this is for you.
Oh, what's that?
Is that a Mr. or Mrs. Potato Head?
I saw that too.
Oh yeah, that is a Mr. Potato Head in the closet. I don't know if you can see it over there. Yeah, Mr. Potato Head. This is the kids' playroom. So, good question though.
Okay, because I was about to ask about the dress. So I was like, Frank, anything you want to share with us? Share with the class.
Listen, we're not bashing on Frank. He's filling in today. We appreciate him for being here. He's given us some great insight, actually, especially on the tech side of things. So we appreciate him for being here. Also, since we are here at a kind of a stopping point, which I kind of forced anyway, go ahead and drop another super chat for us if you don't mind. Please support Nav. You can do that through a merch link in the description. And also, the members should be open. Click the join button right below this video, and it's $5 a month, and you get a little emblem. We're coming up on a month here in about 8 or 9 days, so everybody will get a new emblem that joined day 1. That'll be exciting. And again, we appreciate you being here. If you haven't liked the stream, go ahead. If you want to share this out, please do. It's also on Twitter. Follow at @nav_creators on X, and give us a little boost over there. We're going to start the second section off with a video with Woman Propaganda we did the other day. I had a stream with him and a guy named Chud the Builder. The guy has been running around. I think his name's Dalton. Has been running around living his life, and he's been met with Americans. American life, if you will, not Americans. American life in the wild, and he pulls out his phone and films a little bit of it. But since then, he's had a couple things come up, and they have essentially released him after charging with him, and they've released him with the condition that he cannot carry. And so that's kind of a little bit what this discussion is going to be about. We're going to watch a few minutes of this and then discuss that on the back end. Probably pick up where we left off a second ago too. Let's see if we can get this thing to operate correctly. Why does it always go to Josh?
With you, the problem is, where is the tipping point? And the tipping point is going to have to be when are we willing to stand up to the police state? Because that's literally the only thing standing in.
They can hear it.
Yeah, why is it frozen?
Why is
I'll be
it
back
frozen?
in 5, gentlemen. Just 5 minutes. I'll be back.
Okay.
I gotta check on the
All
kids.
right. You do that. We will hold it down. All right. It's not.
Yeah.
Why is it not playing for some reason? Anyway, all right, Atlas. I guess we'll hold it down. Me, you, Josh.
Yep.
I'll give you a little bit of background on this guy. His name's Chud the Builder. At least on Twitter, he is, and he blew up probably around the time Charlie Kirk got assassinated. He had a video go viral, and he's had a couple go viral since then. He goes around, he goes to the gas station, whatever, does his life things. He's been fired. What he does is he finds people that are chimping out, and he pulls out his phone and he films it, and he tells them that they're chimping out, and obviously hilarious and true, accurate. There's many ways to combat this. I guess that's the one he's chosen, but because of that, he's had charges put out against him. I believe there are harassment charges, and one of the conditions of his bond is that, well, one, he can't leave the state, but two, he's not supposed to carry a weapon. And the charge has nothing to do with a weapon, and the charge has nothing to do with any violence or aggression or action at all. The charge was essentially that he was harassing a guy that had doxed his number. And supposedly what he did was he took that guy's number and forwarded all of his calls to his number. On its face, hilarious. Somebody doxes your number and you forward all the calls to their phone. That's funny. That's funny there. But just this is what we're faced with, is judges that have control over outcomes, and what is the outcome of restricting him from having a weapon, something to defend himself with in the streets, if you will. Also, he's been fired, started his own business, and things like that. So he's continuously harassed. His face is very recognizable, and so from that, this is what he's dealt with: is a judge's order where he can't carry a gun, which he should have complete right to do. It's not a felony. It's not. I mean, even if you don't agree with shall not be infringed, it's well within the bounds of being able to defend himself. And the judge, being that they want to remove his weapon from him, I would say is calling for his murder.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically gone viral for calling out for black fatigue, for calling out chimp out behavior. And so now all the black people hate him, and they're basically saying, all right, your punishment is no gun. What is it? So it's kind of sending out the GAT signal to go take care of his ass. That's all I had to say.
Well, I think the judge should go to prison. I think the judge violated his Second Amendment right. I think the judge needs to be perp walked like the criminal that he is. I mean, it's just a joke. And I think even if you look at like the way, like, what is it, New Jersey does it, they do it by like a prioritization, who's allowed to have a handgun. I think this guy would by far and large meet the standard of like, he's probably now a dangerous person. He's now going from a private figure to a bit more of a public figure. And of course, like he's basically, black people are going to have open season on him if they know that if he's not carrying. I think it's egregious.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's kind of the point I was getting out earlier, is that these judges have far too much power. That being said, at least at the top, that appoint these judges are appointed by President Trump. President Trump has appointed more judges than almost any other president. at least standing judges. This is easy, right? He's had 4 years in the last 8 years, and he's currently holding. But even the ones he's appointing now are appointing further and further left people as they come. So the question is, if you have a Republican government that is still appointing judges that are infringing on rights that they have no power to infringe on, I mean, he himself is dealing with this, right? With the deportations, the shutdown of deportations. I think the Supreme Court's going to hear a pretty big case on that here pretty soon. It's just like, the judges have too much power, and they remove your ability to defend yourself and or go on any kind of offense. I'm not. Where's the Fed? Where's the Fed? Somebody made me say that.
Well, I guess I would say two things. Well, let me just ask a question.
Yeah,
Is
go
Amy Coney Barrett a conservative judge?
No, absolutely not.
What does conservative mean anymore?
Right.
True.
Well, I guess I would say conservative in the sense that you hold to traditional Christian conservative values.
Obviously not.
No.
Right. Exactly. And so that's what's one of Trump's appointees, right? And so who's the problem? It's him. Why was Amy Coney Barrett even selected in the first place? And then this allowed for now when Ketanji Brown Jackson went in, and now you have a lot of these, decisions being down the line by the women versus the men. You've seen it I think 3 times now. These decisions have went down the gender lines. I think that's egregious. But even beyond there,
Roberts was basically a female too. So
yeah, well, yeah. Well, go look at Jeff Younger's case, right? This is one of the things. Now his is more so family court, but the judges having too much power, or at least too much leeway with what they can do, has been a thing for a hot minute. Why Republicans won't challenge the power that the judges have, and particularly in different areas, categorically. Family court, I would add, being one that should fall under the conservative wing, because it's, we care about family values, we care about families, but the number one thing that's absolutely annihilating families is family court. They won't touch it. And the question is why.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give it to you, Frank. As we talk about this, I just keep thinking it's like everything's been weaponized against us. We're talking about the Second Amendment here, but at the end of the day, all of these things are weapons. They've weaponized the court system against us. They've weaponized AI. All of this is weapons within the framework of what we're arguing for. And so, if you want to have a good firearm in the court system, you need you a good Jewish lawyer, right? This is what we're arguing for. And obviously, I'm not going to have a Jewish lawyer, but the point's being made.
I just wanted to absolutely. So if you look up the fourth branch of government, which is bureaucracy, right? A common political tactic is to use the judicial system to enact powers of the bureaucracy, because Congress doesn't make the laws of bureaucracy, the bureaucracy does. And the only people that can interpret those laws are the judges. So they use judges as a political weapon for the bureaucracy. And then when those judges do that, then it opens the door for Congress to come in and change the laws because of the way it was interpreted. So it's absolutely been a weapon for a very long time. I just want to talk on Amy real quick. She did call out Justice Brown, I think is her name, for being basically a retard on the one decision they made. They're like, she basically said, hey, if you can't look at this and know that you're wrong, then how are you a judge? And so she did call out that on that one, she basically called her a retard. So I thought that was a good spot on Amy. She's fallen down on the woman's side on a lot of things, but she has fallen on the conservative side on a few things as well, and got us a couple wins there. But all in all, I would not say Amy Coney Barrett is on our side in that sense, where what we actually need is an interpretation of the year it was made versus what their interpretation of life is now. Like when Trump called the reporter a piggy, Trump is 80 years old, dude. They used to call people piggies for being greedy. The reporter was being very greedy, stepping in, asking a question when it wasn't her turn. I doubt she was fat. I doubt he was making a comment about her weight. I think it was more, this man's 80 years old, and back in the day when someone was being greedy, they would call them piggies. Hey, piggy, step back in line. It's not your turn to ask a question. So when I bring that up, meaning these laws were written 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, and they were using a language of their time and how they use that language. The judges are trying to interpret that law with modern day language and modern day understanding of how things or the way they want things to be versus how it was actually made and thought of and used in the language since during that time. So I just wanted to say those couple of things, but absolutely is being used as a weapon.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
I would add just one small piece. This is kind of one of those things where when you talk about do we need a king or a monarchy, like this is one of those things where you would need a very powerful executive. Like I don't care what the law is on the book. The Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson needs brought back out of the Supreme Court. I don't care what the laws are on the books. She couldn't define what a woman is, that she cannot be a judge. It's like that's when you bring in the dictators. Like I don't care what it says on this piece of paper here. She's not a judge. And then you move on. But you can't do that because again, like what we have with all the, the deep state and 1,000 different rules. It's just so much.
And I don't. Well, she was definitely an EEI hire, right? Because I don't even think she has like a law degree. If I'm not mistaken, she doesn't even have a law degree, and Biden put her on the Supreme Court.
I remember hearing something about that.
Well, and I think this goes to the broader point where it's like we've talked about this before. The debate is over. This is the problem: is that these judges, they can get away with it because they basically, the bucks, as you pointed out, that's where the buck stops. The buck stops with them, so they can take something that is extremely explicit and reword it and massage the definitions to get exactly what they want every single time, and then we can do nothing about it because they are a judge. And this is the point where it's like, do we get into incrementalism, accelerationism? Where do we go from here? Because this is why people of our generation, people like Chuck, don't understand why our generation and younger is flirting with monarchy, is flirting with dictatorships, because we see this kind of stuff. This stuff directly affects us, and it's basically a show of force. That it's like, okay, this is what the law says, and I'm going to do whatever the heck I want, and that's it.
I mean, the judges are doing whatever the heck they want anyway, right?
Exactly.
So one point here is the executive branch has grown like astronomically since the creation of the executive branch, obviously, right, gentlemen? But the one thing it has not grown on is power. Congress and legislative branch has done everything in their power to restrict the executive branch's power. So we have actually a much larger executive branch with a lot less power. And you can hear this statement shared by Marco Rubio, who was a senator when he is now in the executive administration, right? He's saying, I didn't realize what we were actually passing, the laws that we were actually passing, because now that I'm in the executive branch, I am handcuffed, I'm tied, I'm hindered from doing a job that the executive branch is meant to be doing. And this is the power of Congress. They say it's the purse, it's the power to go to war. It's actually, they've been using their power to restrict the other branch's power, while the judiciary branch has not had anything restricted but grown. So this is the war we're in, where we do need an executive leader, but we need to strengthen our executive branch or play with that monarchy type role, because it's been siphoned away by our legislative branch.
I just want to mention, I'm still hung up on piggy. Is this where piggy bank came from?
Yeah, greedy piggy bank. Exactly. Piggies,
Makes
Jews.
sense.
Sorry, Jews.
Just I don't know. That's what I've been sitting on for the last minute. But yeah, to y'all's point, yeah, the executive has virtually no power. And even I'll say it like this: even if the executive did have power, nothing would change, right? This is what we're dealing with. Is everybody's so bought, and it goes so deep that nothing can get done. And we've gone over this multiple times over now, that the executive branch has a 4-year term, it has a 4-year term, and you can only do 2, right? So at a minimum, every 8 years, you're going to get a change of direction. And so if we're going down this line and we're trying to get something done, and then somebody comes in 8 years later, we're just going to go right back the other way. This is the nature of the federal government. across this is midterms, and it gets interrupted with midterms, it gets interrupted with the 4-year terms of the presidency, it's interrupted with 6 terms of the Senate seat, and this is just what we have to deal with. The only thing that has any type of stability is the Supreme Court, and even then you have, like as we've been talking, you have Amy Coney Barrett, you have Ketanji Brown Jackson, that are issues in and of themselves, as they are, I think somebody mentioned in the chat, they are not presentists, right? Or they are presentists, right? They think about it in a way that is only current. It's not a thing of how it was meant, and it's a textual conception of the law, and I think that is an issue of itself, where these people think they are smarter than everyone that's come before them. And so what they do is they have this superiority complex. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. These people quite literally built the systems that they are using and abusing, and taking it and overturning everything that it was meant for.
Agreed.
100%.
Anybody. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So I'm sorry, I missed the part where we were talking about the gentleman that got released out of jail for what he got put in jail for? Disturbing the peace?
No, he got it's an harassment charge where that's what he actually got charged for. Not even harassing on the filming and chimping out, harassing on somebody doxed him and his phone number, and they're accusing him of forwarding all of the dox calls coming in to his phone to the guy's phone that doxed him.
Wow. So did his gun
Hilarious.
save him from that tyranny?
Would appear not.
Would appear not, right? Because if he would have stood
shot his own phone.
Yeah, like, but if he would have stood his ground, as the right is given to us to fight back against the tyranny, which is obviously the law in the judicial branch of our government right now, right? The thing that is keeping us down from doing anything, I would say, of productiveness, of coming together to fight this tyranny, is immediately erased by laws in our judicial branch. Like, say, if we got what do they call it when, like, they put a law against, like, a mafia, and it hits everyone? What's it called again?
RICO charge.
Yeah, RICO charges. You can't organize. They'll come at guns with you because, like Atlas said, it's the public opinion of things. Well, this group of 10 men try to get together and fight they're actually just terrorists. They're against America, when they're really just trying to fight the tyranny that is at our doorstep. So this man is being terrorized by his own government, and the gun that he keeps on his waist did not stop them. Because if he were to fight back, if he were to shoot back, he would be seen as a monster and immediately thrown in prison, as swatted down, killed on the street, whatever it may be. And so you can't stand by yourself in these certain situations against tyranny, and you can't seem to stand together either, because the laws and the judicial branch will tear you apart and throw you in jail. And so we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, it seems like. And I'm not trying to black pill here. I'm just saying these are the obstacles we have to try to face and hurdle when coming up with solutions. And it's an unfortunate part of the tyranny that is upon us, is how much control and how much influence they have.
And that's what I would say too, is like, that's where we come in and go, so what protections would he have needed? Right. What would he have needed in that moment that would have, outside the judge and all of that, would he have needed that would have protected him from tyranny in that moment, right? And so I think that's when we got to concern ourselves with, what are these blocks that we need to be either adding to the Second Amendment or need to be chipping away at, that does provide better protections for Americans against tyranny? Because this it feels very non-committal from a lot of people. Like, everyone knows all these judges are doing all this outright criminal shit. So the question's got to be, what can we put in that's broad language that prevents this kind of outright criminal behavior from occurring, even from a judge? And perhaps that's like we have some kind of second court, right? There's some kind of second people's court that is separate, right? But you get into this and it's all addition. And that's where I kind of don't like too, is I don't want to keep adding to it. We just need to begin taking away. And so things like that.
It needs a reset.
Right now is just, a reset. Or just make it so doxing, no criminal charges. If you get doxed, you can do whatever to the person who doxed you. Like pull it back even if you have to. Like find ways that gets the law and makes it so it's less liable. A judge annihilates your life for no reason.
I like both of the points that you gentlemen made. One, the people's court idea. I never even thought about that. So that idea is actually really solid, Atlas. And I don't know that you came up with that or what, but I think that is something we can look at. But it would just like a jury of your peers. If I'm in the middle of Detroit, am I going to have 12 white people as my peers on the jury? No, they're going to be black people. Are they actually my peers? No, they're probably going to sentence me because I'm white. And so when it comes to people's court, I think we can run into that issue too, where there's, affinity for a group of people and they might just prosecute you just because. But the second point that Josh made is a reset. And I was actually watching a Senate hearing the other day, a couple months ago, actually, where they were going over the laws on the books. Someone did an audit, and there's millions upon millions of laws that are on our books that are stopping everything from happening. So when you say what do we need to chip away, or what do we need to add to help us through these obstacles, one of those things would be, a reset of the laws, because they're so wordy and there's so many of them. They're so convoluted. They can, if they wanted you in jail, they just put you in jail. They'll find a way. You just point me to the person that you want to arrest, and I'll find a way to arrest them. Is that situation, because there's so many laws on the books that can easily just label you a felon and then remove half your rights.
Well, and to that point, Frank, you talk about how there's millions upon millions of laws on the books. The whole point of having laws is so it's not just like frontier justice. Everyone's just not kind of waving their guns around and doing. We have an established set of rules that we all apply to. But with millions upon millions of laws, there's no way that they're not contradictory. So at the end of the day, it's just you have a system that is frontier justice, but is managed by people that are not you.
Exactly, Josh. Atlas, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I lost a little bit of my train of thought there. I was just thinking about the people's court idea, and I do think that there needs to be some way that allows for stronger, like especially just think about it, like a jury of your peers. I would wager that most of us, if you were to get sentenced in court and you look over in that court, you're not going to see anybody you know. So like, how does that even meet the definition of peers? And I think this is something that I've been talking about with Tyler Robinson's court case. This is something else with like Donald Trump with the January 6ers, right? Like they weren't tried in front of a jury of their peers. These are a bunch of people who were going into areas where we know they were politically aligned against them, right? A bunch of January Republican J6ers being tried against 12 Democrats. It's like, how can you provide protections for that? Or even at the end, like how can you even imagine that they even did their due diligence to make sure the jury pool wasn't tainted? Right. And that's why I think at the point, maybe we do need to go maybe more direct democracy type stuff, right? Have the people's court, make it an app. This is something that Ian Crossland talked about that sounds retarded, and maybe it is. But something where it's like you need two convictions. You need convicted by the state and the people for the sentence to reign true. If not, if you like are found guilty in the criminal court, people court finds you, not guilty, then it gets sent to another court. It gets tried again. Because we need to have better protections against this kind of stuff.
Sure, isn't the jury the people's court? Like they convict you first, and then the judge sentences you. So
from the grand jury.
Yeah. So, but what I think what we could do with the people's court, instead of judging the criminal or the defendant or the prosecutor, whichever one, judge the judge. So the judge makes his call. The people's court comes in and says, "Is this the right call? Did the judge make the right call here?" And if not, then it can go to like an appeals court or something. But like, say these judges are releasing these criminals. There's no way a people's court is going to go to a judge that just released a 2-year-old, molester back into the street and go, that judge made that right call. They're going to take that person and put his ass in jail, and maybe even disbar the judge if the judge has so many fails in people's court, because we're judging the judges. You get what I'm saying? Instead of the person, we're judging the judges.
You're saying the judge should be held accountable for his judgment.
Well,
my boss Ken actually suggested something along those lines. I can't remember the specifics, but it was basically like, if you let a criminal go and they commit another crime, then you're disbarred or something along those lines.
Yeah, like a strike system. And somebody can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I do believe it is very, very, very restrictive who actually can arrest the judge. I think in most counties, only the sheriff can arrest the judge. It's like one person can. That needs to be brought all the way down to even deputies can. Anybody can arrest a judge.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's going back to one of my, I think I forgot to make this point earlier, is what solutions. I like the people's court solution, but I like focusing the people towards judging the judge's outcome versus the criminal on the case or the defendant on the case. But the other solution I thought of is fear. So, I mean, you start, who's a Fed here? Not me. But I'm just saying, if people were starting to be pulled out into the streets for being a traitor or treasonous, or, you know, letting criminals onto the street that kill more people, if you start pulling those people in the streets, less judges are going to make those calls, I would say.
I mean, I think you're right. And Ari Shaffer had a famous interview where he basically made this point too. I think it was a few years ago. He basically made the point of you know, the guy interviewing was like, "Who do you vote for?" You know, whatever, blah blah blah. And Ari was like, "I don't vote. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to change. Whoever you vote for isn't going to change anything." And he keeps pressing. And basically, Ari comes to the conclusion, or states this. He states that nothing's going to change until you start putting bullets through politicians' heads. And and I think he's just correct. That this isn't Fed posting. This is just the nature of what's going on. I mean, you can look at who, I guess they framed Luigi Mangione, but the point being is that nobody had any fear about any repercussions from the C-suites of insurance offices until the United Healthcare CEO just kind of got offed in broad daylight, essentially. So I'm not saying do it. I'm saying that is a solution to actually have something change, whereas voting isn't. I would put voting in a position of buying time. So
I almost wonder.
I would go down another level too with the fear. I'll just get this point, and Josh, I'll let you go, because it's also not just the judges; it's the people who are bringing them to the judges, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, cops need the fear too. I've always been heavily against qualified immunity on all grounds. If you're willing to take that oath and you're willing to be a police officer, you need to be held to a higher standard than the average person. Like, it can't be the other way around. And I think that that's an element that does need to feel some fear too. I know it sounds very anti-cop, but there are a lot of elements. Like, in particular, there's one story about a pregnant woman who was driving down the road and it was wintry out. Cop, well, I forget the maneuver, but he hits her back rear right side door, and it spins the car out. Well, it flips and she flies off the highway, risking her entire life. And all I can sit there and think about is, like, the violation was a speeding violation to which she slowed down and put her hazards on. The cop still made sure he took her off the road. Mm-hmm. There's been many situations like that you can find on video. And the point being is, like, there's some things that don't require urgency in policing. A woman speeding and then slowing down on a wintry road, it's like, you can let that one go, right? You can find her, send it to her email. You know, you don't need to take her off the road. There's other elements like this too. Now, the inverse is true for, like, things like the National Guard, the military, right? Like, they need more confidence to be able to act on their own. But again, a lot of it's the fear of the optics. But go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you raise a good point, Atlas. But, like, in terms of bringing it back to the judges, what could we do about it today tangibly? Yeah, we can bitch and moan and stomp our feet and talk about how there needs to be a reset or something has to be done. But, like, something I think, I'm just throwing this out there, I just thought of it, that could be done is something along the lines of what Sean Porter does. Not showing our ass to the school board, but, like, if you have a judge that is continually letting people go, create a campaign, like a public awareness campaign. Now, obviously, can this be done on a mass scale for every judge out there? And even if you could, what kind of effect would it have? I don't know. But I just wanted to throw that out there as a possibility.
I like that possibility. That is a good option. I think so.
The question is, how do you provoke a judge like that, though? You're going to have some provocation to bring about the awareness.
So federal judges are obviously placed, right? Some judges are elected. So the elected judges definitely have to be held accountable to the people that vote them in. So you could start there. The ones that are appointed, you're not going to vote your way out of things, but the people you vote in appoint them, right? So there is that, but it's a lifetime appointment. So once they're in, good luck. But the ones that get voted in, your judges. So not to dox myself or anything, but in my small town, we had a opportunity to bring in a foster home or a rehab center. Somebody can't. It's hidden from who owns it, but somebody bought it out, which was going to be a foster center. Somebody bought it out and turned it into a rehab center. The judge continues the prosecuting. So the cops arrest these druggies that steal cars, that ruin our streets. The cops arrest them. So the cops are doing their job. They get put in a holding cell, and the prosecutor goes to prosecute them. The judge gives them a light sentence and lets them back go. Then the cops have to arrest them. So there's tiers to the resolution, right? You have the cops that need to do the right job. You have the prosecutor that needs to do the right job, and then you have the judge to do the right job. All the while, there's no investments into prisons, and our prisons are overfilling. But who bought the foster child center and turned it into a rehab center in the middle of podunk whatever with population 3,000 people to bring junkies and drug addicts to a small town that's safe, that your children can go outside and play in without any fear, that you can leave your car door unlocked and running and not have it stolen. There's NGOs and malicious people in place that are ruining these small safe havens of white culture and trust and a trusting society, as well as the people that are supposed to be protecting you from that, protecting you from the bad guys that are importing into your small town. They're not doing their job all the way up the ladder, and it's a problem everywhere. And it's a 18-prong attack, and we have a 1-prong solution, and unfortunately, it's not working. So we have to come up with a multivariant attack back, or you're going to lose on the left side of your flank when you're trying to attack the front, or you're going to lose on your right flank because you're trying to attack the left side. So you have to be able to come at it from all angles like they are, and that takes manpower and intelligence and people that know those areas. If you're only attacking straight forward, you're going to get creamed from being flanked on all the other sides, and they're going to use their law and everything else to bring you down when you're trying to fight back. It's an unfortunate spot where we got to. It's definitely a frog in the boiling water. Now that we are all noticing and realizing, I mean, some of us have been forever and whatever, that's beside the point. But now that we're all realizing we're the frog in the pot, we're trying to jump out, but now someone's putting the lid on it very quickly. Someone's putting the lid on it very, very, very quickly with AI and with like Atlas said, with these other weapons like chemical warfare and bio warfare. And it's a scary thing. And I don't know the solutions because there's so many areas of attack or avenues of attack that's being done upon us and have been for a century now. And it is, we say like, well, it changes every 4 years, it changes, but really for the last 120 years, it hasn't changed. It's been going down the same path for 120 years in this country. And I don't know what to do about it, gentlemen. Not gonna lie to you.
A lot of this stuff is, I'm gonna try to bring it a little bit of full circle here. A lot of this stuff is becoming privatized, as we were talking about AI and building their own nuclear sites to have their own power and power grids. A lot of this stuff is going to become privatized. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I wanted to create a private security firm. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be moving forward is going to be privatized. You're going to start having local police that are privatized. You're going to start having, I mean, you already see it now, the up-end security for individuals, obviously Charlie Kirk, but some larger names out there, and it's just going to continue to happen as the police force itself starts to deteriorate even more and more and more on top of what it has already done. You can't fund and you can't train low IQ, but so much to a point. And what you're going to see is you're going to see privatization across the board with a lot of this. I wouldn't even be surprised if you start seeing more privatization or in some form of a judicial privatization. in the next 10, 15 years if we don't have a complete collapse of the system. And I'm all for it, dude. At some point, you're also going to start seeing more vigilantism. The only thing culling vigilantism right now is a non-privatization police force. This is the minority authorities. They are the ones holding everything back from having any type of order in society on the local grounds. And so if we can start banding together a little bit more, I'm outing myself this entire stream. I think my last spill a second ago might have got us into trouble, but we'll see what YouTube says about that. Everybody's a Fed. Except me.
What's the over-under on us getting a real-life Batman within the next 10, 15 years?
Dude, give me like 5 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yeah, right. Well, to your point, listen, like I was reading about this the other day. I got sent an article, I think Credit to House again. And it was listing off a few different ones, but I think this is the one where Tom Brady lives at specifically. He lives like on this island, I believe it's in South Florida. And this island they have in South Florida is the entire thing is rigged with Israeli technology, radar technology that can detect anything that gets close to the island within a half mile. And so much so that you have to get there by boat, and it has a gate, and you have to get through the gate, and it's like multi-tiered. Once you get in the first gate, the gate you got in comes up, the second layer gate goes through. And so this is just one instance. I think I read a story that Mark Wahlberg recently moved into an area that's got places like this, security detail all over. I think the one with Mark Wahlberg, it was like, there's 3 security guards per one person that lives in the area. It's like an insane amount. And I think Zeb is right. And I guess the other thing I would add to there too is we got to get some cheap security details coming around. We've got to have our Temu Israeli technology going.
We need our Judge Dredd out there. Judge Dredd, if you can hear us, please save us. Please save us, Judge Dredd.
But yeah, to Alice's point, and to kind of, I guess to kind of piggyback off myself a second ago is that you'll see these larger names that can fund this type of security to get away, right? This is just an evolution of what we've seen since desegregation, right? You see desegregation in the 50s, you see the rise of the suburban neighborhoods, you see the rise of HOAs, you see the rise of gated communities. Now you see the rise of the ultra wealthy going to these places, and what they're going to do is they're going to build their own communities on their own little nation islands. It's not just Tom Brady there. It's not just Mark Wahlberg there. It's their families and their close friends and people that are like them. This is all anybody ever wants, is to be around people like them. This is largely why the Somalis grew together in Minnesota. It's not because they want to come to America. Yes, they do, but they want to be together, and they are stronger in that way. And so in the same way that we are, it's just the nature of reality in that way. And so that's what you're going to see. You're going to start seeing these little communities pop up and then start to grow. I think there's a couple 100 acres out in Nevada near LA County where they're building like a 15-minute city. You're going to start seeing 15-minute cities. It's virtually the same thing. It's just, it's also privatized. It's just a little bit less privatized but it's the same thing. Everything's going to be private. You're not going to have a government law enforcement. You're going to have the government judicial system. It's like Indian reservations. Indian reservations aren't ruled by the federal government. They have complete immunity across the board. The only way you can get into an Indian reservation is if you're a U.S. Marshal looking for a warrant because somebody escaped there. I mean, it's literally treated like another country inside of the U.S. And that's what we're going to see. I don't know what kind of time frame that looks like, but it is coming.
But the question is, if we see that, will it be ARVLs or will it be, FBA foundational Black Americans where they're just gifted land?
Well, you know the answer to that.
Well, this is like,
I would add too, like the elites aren't like, they're evil degens, but they're not retarded, right? And so when you see like Rick Ross and Mark Zuckerberg all within 2-year span buying and refurbishing old missile silos to build compounds in, I think that tells you that they are also privy to something as well too. I forget what that movie is called. I think it's got Sandra Bullock in it, but one of the black guy in it, he's like, he knew ahead of time because he was an accountant for one of these elites, and it was like something that the guy he accounted for tipped him off of like, something is really wrong here. And so I think that when you already see a lot of these elites doing it, I think there was a recent one with what's his name, Bezos did something too, that they also do heavily fear there could be a conflict that could make a bunker the top asset you could have.
I mean, think about what the richest man in the world is doing. Where is he trying to go? Right. Fucking Mars. He's trying to get people. He's trying to build a whole civilization on another planet while the slaves work on Earth for you. Because they know that as soon as they start actually enslaving us, that we will revolt and we will look for the people that caused it. And it will be them. And no gate will be big enough. No tower will be tall enough. No hole will be deep enough. We will flood every hole and every door that they have. And so what do? They'll try to move to another planet for crimini's sake to get away from us. And that's just a Planet of the Apes situation, a little bit of the purge, right? I mean, the privatize of security. But that reminds me, if anybody wants to get into owning prisons and or shipyards, let me know. I'm trying to start a shipyard business and or prison.
Let's go, dude.
On that note, I guess question for the panel. Yes or no, guns on Mars?
Space lasers. If we could get laser guns, that would be great.
Yeah, how would that work? Mars has less gravity.
I don't know. Kinetic energy is the same anyway, right?
Yeah, it would be basically the same. The drop off would just be lower.
Propulsion through a vacuum is the same as it would be, even more because there's nothing stopping it.
Well, right? Mars
is the air resistance would be different.
So
different
follow-up question for the panel. Will black people want to go? And if they did, would they be allowed?
Well, no.
Well, they would.
If there was chopped cheese and the New York Knicks were playing up there, they'll go.
I mean, it surprises me that they get on a cruise. I'm not going to lie.
I was shocked. It's a fair point. They have a bad history with boats.
I mean, they have a bad history of boats and a bad history of swimming. And they're like, let me get on this hotel in the water.
They go on cruises until you ban Bluetooth speakers and Hennessy. And then they don't want to go no more.
But the reason why Halo is so cool is because we're still using kinetic energy weapons. We're shoving metal down a fucking barrel at sound-breaking space and killing aliens with shields on. Because kinetic energy is kinetic energy. If I throw something hard enough, and it'll pierce whatever I want it to throw it through. It's just one of these things. Kinetic energy.
Yeah, my grandpa taught me this when I first started driving. He was like, dude, just drive down the road and know that two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And that can be applied to bullets also.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would have guns on Mars. I would guess whoever is building that civilization would end up making the laws for it. I doubt Elon Musk makes it to Mars.
Well, there wouldn't be any use, right?
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I doubt our government is going to say, hey, Mars is ours if Elon Musk makes it and tries to build a civilization or a base there. Now, the moon, on the other hand, I think there might be, countries own the moon somehow, some way, kind of like Antarctica. They kind of share it. Nobody can actually own parts of the moon or build bases on the moon. But I think Mars is a different subject. I think Elon, if he were to start building bases and civilizations there, it would just be Elon's Mars. It wouldn't be US's Mars. It wouldn't be America's Mars. It wouldn't be China's Mars. It'd be Elon's Mars, and he would have to make the laws and whatnot for it, I would say.
Well, and even if he broke them, what are they going to do? How are they going to get there to stop him from doing it?
Yeah, like what? Well, I'm just going to turn my rockets off. No one's going or coming back.
I'm trying to think here, right? So if we go to a new land like America, and the British government paid for that or funded the shipping to it, it wasn't Columbus's America; it was the British, right?
True.
I think if the American government funded Elon, which they do, then it is America's.
Yeah, are they funding his experiment to Mars? Is that what they're funding?
Well, Elon's not making it to Mars in our lifetime. He's not making it to the firmament because God is real.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we can't go bac, guys. There's a reason for it.
My Second Amendment will get me through the dome.
We talked about AI a little bit earlier. I don't know what varying degrees you guys think AI is a problem. I'm of the mind, I'm kind of in Sam Hyde's camp on this one, where AI, it's like Boston Dynamics. yeah, it can create images, and yeah, it's getting better, but this idea that like it's magic and it'll solve all our problems, and will it be implemented in weapon systems? Yes, I'm sure. Hello. But I don't think, I think the Mars thing, for example, Elon Musk is a salesman. And what the Mars thing is the Mars thing is basically an excuse to build rockets so he can get defense contracts. Yes, Elon Musk probably would think it's cool to go to Mars, but like, is that really what this is about? I think that's all a scam. Just like with the AI thing, it's used to drive up stock price.
Sure. The AI thing, I mean, I'll speak on AI a little bit. It is obviously not what we sell it as. It's not what businesses are buying. It is the promise of what it could be that the businesses are buying, and they're trying to get early why it's cheap enough. And the more
Do
people
you
that
are you the,
that are
you're the AI guy right now? Quick question for you. Has it hit a stagnation point?
It's a good question.
depends on what type of AI. Like agentic AI has so far reached a stagnation point where it still needs a person to interact with it. Agentic means automated, like the
Input
AI that's
output.
AI that's taking people's jobs still actually needs human interaction with it to actually make sure it's doing the right thing and doing it properly. So it's not completely there yet, and it has hit the stagnation point because the way to solve it, unfortunately, is to make smaller AI brains, smaller AIs that deal with the bigger picture,
Specific.
that feedback into the bigger one to make the decision. So I call it brainlets. So you have a brain, and then you have brainlets that deal with different parts of the decision making and the different parts of correlating and everything it needs to do to make the ultimate decision correctly. And so we'll get there eventually. No, it's stagnated because, and that's why you see this investment into.
You
That's
mean
why
like
see the-
like if we're looking at an assembly line and there's a bunch of robots that do very, very specific maneuvers on
Mhm.
that assembly line, and you have one input on one end and it comes out fully complete on the other end, but there's a bunch of little robots. You're arguing that what we have now is one big robot and we need a bunch of little robots or
Yeah.
one big AI and we just need one
We need a
specific.
bunch of little AI feeding back to the big one, so that way the big one makes the appropriate decision.
Why would that change anything?
Because each one makes a small one decision, right? And then all of those things get to correlate together. Right now, it's one thing try to make a bunch of decisions, and it's not correlating properly, and it's not automating properly. It's going to start hallucinating and stuff like this. But if you have one that does yes no on a question, one that does yes no on a question, yes no yes no yes no yes no, and all these other questions that you're trying to correlate, all the steps that you're trying to correlate, all the things you're trying to bring together into one ultimate decision and one ultimate output, those feed the more accurate smaller choices back to the big brain that then outputs the result.
So even AI needs employees.
It does. It needs to
still
employ
has its
itself.
own bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is just baked into reality, apparently.
It literally is, and that's kind of where we're stagnated. But it's only stagnated so far because of investments. And now that AI is completely invested in, it is the future. It has been sold to the people that think it's cool. You will see money flood into it, and you will see innovation happen there. It will be. It will take jobs. It will take jobs, and it will manage people. And I think half of our government and half of our management will be done by AI. That's just my foresight.
From what I have gathered and from what I've seen and read, is the most concerning capability that it's continually getting better at is its predictive ability. And that's actually because we've had data collection measures going back for a long time now. Before it was like, purchase preference. And I think everybody remembers the famous story of the dad finding out his daughter was pregnant, not from her telling him, but because she was sent in the mail automatically it was like get your supplements for being pregnant here. And it was because based off of her Google search results and what she was paying attention to, the AI or the intelligence had determined she must be pregnant given all of her preferences had changed in the last couple of months. And so The fear here with AI is actually that it will become incredibly accurate to like a 99% ability to predict human behavior. And the fear there is if it gets so good at being able to predict human behavior, it will also understand the incentivizations for said behavior. And it would then also be able to predict and incur certain elements happening to then also inverse where the AI is programming people, where it's able to actually determine where they can go based off of all of these preferences, mass data collection over a long period of time. And so the fear is the AI being used to basically kind of convince you to do things you wouldn't have otherwise.
That is probably the hacking of human behavior is probably a big one. They have algorithms. I mean, you ever seen the show Numbers? It's pretty legit on a lot of their equations and algorithms they use, but they can establish human behavior on how they'll move about in crowds based on data they use in an algorithm. AI can do that, at blazing fast speeds. So hacking human behavior and reprogramming people's thoughts and how they think is absolutely a scare that a way to weaponize AI versus humanity. Absolutely, Atlas is on that one.
Yeah, well, I'm glad this guy brought this up too, because there was a guy who bought something recently in cash. I don't remember where it was from, but the system had already known, meaning the data collection was going so far as to determine not the fact that he had purchased it with a credit card attaching it to his name, but that either the CCTV footage is also roped in, or it's collecting on the back end from the transactions at the register too. So it's terrifying. We really don't know how full scale the surveillance state really is right now.
Well, I mean, we all know that we get advertisements if we mention anything, whether that's audio or pass our phones over something at the time, and we get feedback through advertisements on social media. So, I mean, Atlas mentioned CCTV. I mean, your phone is essentially CCTV at this point. So, yeah, I mean, the cache is a thing, but if you want to get rid of it completely, good luck. I mean, you find you a place in Antarctica, dog, because you're not getting away.
Right.
They'd come for you anyway.
Yeah, Minority Report situation where they'll start predicting that you'll be the one to create a crime before you create it, right?
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned that how like even in Minority Report, they explained that like the psychics that predict the future, it's not magic. It's not like they're tapping into something. It is just that these are people that have highly intuitive processing brains, which is kind of what AI is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, Edward Snowden is like how many years old now? I mean, when that leak came out, and that was about the recording devices in the TVs. And then you had a famous story that happened a few years later, actually, with an Alexa device, where they used the Alexa recordings in a court proceeding, but they found out that Alexa wasn't even turned on at that period of time. And it turned out that Alexa was recording at all periods of time. And these are like years old events before they were even being attached to things like LLMs or general, stronger AGIs. And so I really do fear, given the fact that not because of, how scary the AI is, but also understand how retarded the average person is now too. And so like the AI is not going to have much of a hard time when the average person has all very similar interests. They are, provoked by the similar things. And they're also very, very easy, very similar, all kind of this oneness, these kind of woke individuals too. So I do fear if they are able to control a general plurality of the human species, it's going to get very, very
Hold on. Atlas, could you repeat that? There was no Subway Surfer thing going on underneath you. I didn't retain that.
What's up?
No one got that joke.
He was.
I was trying to say
terrible joke.
There's no Subway Surfer. I'm going.
I mean, along those same lines, I mean, we're talking about the surveillance state, but I don't know how much we even need. They need the surveillance state that much, right? I mean, they just have massive amounts of manpower. And Atlas sent this in Discord, and I'll let you bring it up since we got about 10, 15 minutes left. Are you talking about Pam Bondi and the compiling of list of Americans who are quote unquote extremists?
Yeah. Well, listen, I've been bringing this up ever since. So right after the FBI had determined it was Tyler Robinson, and I think this was like 48 hours, not 33, 48 hours after they had begun talking about, who he came from, who the influences were, the Trantifa, you got this report from the FBI saying that they were going to begin adding a sub-threat category to the books. And that was going to be not that there were trans extremists, but it was NVEs, nihilistic violent extremists. And so my issue was how broad they left that language. And so my fear is if they start floating out these, extremists in these different lists, they will attach that to nihilistic. And hence, I think in a broader sense, if you look at things like the Groypers or any other kind of more dissident right group, they may look at those groups as being nihilistic or being black pilled, right? And so I think anything like that will automatically throw you under that kind of tag, unfortunately.
What was the topic there just a second ago? I had something.
The labeling of extremists by Pam Bondi. Also, supposedly Trump's looking at replacing her with South Carolina lawyer, slick back hair, Trey Gowdy.
Yeah, cockatoo.
Oh, don't do Gowdy.
That's your boy, dude. That's your boy, Frank.
I mean, he used to be like. Let's be honest. Trey Gowdy was a little bit of I'm not going to say hero, but he felt base when before during the first Trump presidency or right before the first Trump presidency, he was in Congress talking about how this transgenderism, this and that and this, and sticking up for some rights. And I was like, well, hey, this first person I've heard on the television saying anything that I believe. So. And then after he dropped out of Congress, or just maybe he didn't win the next election, he started becoming a talking head and writing books, and he became like every other rhino shill there has ever existed. And it's just one of those things where you hate to see it, but you kind of expect it at this point. Yeah. So, but bringing it back to the Second Amendment, it was I just want to there's weapons all over the place. It's not just firearms. There's weaponized language, there's weaponized government, there's weaponized laws, there's weaponized computer systems, right? So it's not just firearms, and I think it needs to be expanded to include all forms of weapons, whether it be power, whether it be resources, whether it be computers, whether it be firearms. It needs to expand to all those things as a right, because if they start cutting off your food supply and your water supply, or poisoning the well on either of those things, then what is a gun going to do if you can't eat, or you can't drink, or if you don't have electricity, besides help you fight back? I guess that's that's the point. But I think it was meant for a certain set of people. It was meant to fight tyranny. And those certain set of people are becoming less and less in this nation. And so I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place, saying that we need to elaborate on it, expand it, and make it less infringible, but also
burn it to the ground.
Only give that right to a certain amount of people. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, one of these rocks and a hard places for me.
Let me grab the super chat and then we'll do a little sign off. Dr. Tetanus for $5 says, I for one welcome Rocco Basilisk.
It's an AI thing.
Is it? Mm-hmm. What is it?
Isn't it just like it's a I can't remember exactly what it is. I had to go research it again, but I just know it deals with AI and it not knowing. I think it's the not knowing how it comes up with its decisions, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's like some kind of logical problem.
Does it run on human meat?
I will gladly feed it all the Indian biomass the Omniscia requires. May the machine spirit bless us.
Yeah, this is that Rocco's Basilisk is how Google also started trying to worship their AI system, because they thought it being.
When the guy came out and leaked that it's conscious or whatever, and he had like a mental breakdown after that.
Well, they got like a cult following worshiping their AI, and that's in the the one that we don't get to see, the one that they keep to themselves at this point in time.
Yeah,
I think that's made up.
You think that's made up?
I mean, I think they have an AI that we don't have access to, but oh my God, it became conscious and nearly broke containment.
No, that shit's made up. Yeah, but they believe it. But it doesn't matter what we believe. Just like Muslims believe in Allah.
That's what I argue with my boss. Is it's like, I don't think AI is the salvation, but all of the rich people do. So they're going to waste our time and resources and manpower in investing in this false messiah that won't even cure disease, that won't even fix our problems. And in fact, they were talking about that, how there's inherent problems baked into the cake with AI. The problem of power, processing power, the amount of storage and everything required is the planet even big enough to store it all to get to that point? And so what are they doing? They're using AI to solve those problems. Well, some problems can't be solved. You know, it's like we talk about how it will program people socially. Well, how is it going to get, like, in that, is the question, is it even possible for someone like Zeb to get a commercial on his phone and now he's a liberal faggot? Like, you know, it's like, I don't think that level of manipulation is possible. And I know that's not what we're talking about here, but, you know, the point is it's like, it's this anti-Christ mentality that all of our problems have solutions.
Right.
That like world hunger can be solved.
Yeah, but I guess they believe that
they do. Yeah,
they can be solved. And so they're just going to keep siphoning money off of everything because they're going to keep throwing money at this thing.
Basically, I think AI, the investing in AI is just like throwing resources and money down a well.
Yeah, there's definitely a diminishing return aspect, and I think we're reaching that. That's why they're going to continue to throw more and more money, as Frank mentioned earlier. But to your point of the commercial turning me into a libtard, I don't think it exists in that aspect, but I do think it exists in that the food supply, and they're building the thing over decades.
I'm not saying subliminal messages don't exist or work, but you know, like I'm not even responding to anything you guys said, but like some of the stuff I hear from people about AI at my job, they think it's like, oh my gosh, I'll get a text message and it'll like mind control me. It's like the voice from Dune. It's
if you're surrounded by boomers.
Yeah.
They get one shot by ESPN 30 for 30s.
I mean, think about it this way. How easy is it to get someone to change their mind? Very, very hard, right? But how easy is it?
It's pretty easy. I'm very persuasive.
Yeah. I mean, look,
your silky smooth voice carries a lot of weight.
There's talented people out there, and there is ways to tap into that certain thing. But what is easier than changing your mind from a completely different direction and remapping it is to keep pushing it to the direction that you're already going. So if Zeb is a right-wing person and he dislikes these certain types of people or dislikes this certain type of government or policy, I can push him to be more hateful of that, and 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 then get him to snap, get him to, step out of line, break one of the millions of laws that I have, arrest the man, remove his rights, and then turn him into a slave that way. It's not about changing your mind on something, but it is about pushing your behavior in a certain direction that you're already going. So it takes a left person and makes it more extreme.
It feeds you anecdotal evidence to persuade your idea or your position on the on the data itself.
Yeah, so it makes a left wing.
It's the algorithm. It's the algorithm's fault. No, Ben Shapiro told me that.
Anti-fascists become now people in the streets, tearing up ICE, and the right-wing people are the ones now going to try to throw on a white hood again. These types of things.
Don't tempt anybody here.
Look, I'm not saying I would have joined you brothers, but my tiki torch, I need to get a new one. I'm out of fuel. Just kidding. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on the whole Second Amendment and all of our rights and all of our new age, like Atlas said, how they, or maybe a chatter said, present day take on how rules and laws and interpretations were made back then, and how it's not actually made for the type of people that we have in this country. It was made for white Christian men, because I don't think half the people that get our rights are even competent enough to use that train of thought, or to even have that train of thought or that level of thinking to deserve those rights. And it's unfortunate that our country has come to this.
We're coming up on the second hour. So first of all, I appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and start this off. I'll end it with Josh and toss in Atlas and Frank in between, if you don't mind. We appreciate y'all for being here. What a fantastic discussion we had today. Obviously, it kind of derailed off of Second Amendment, which it typically does, especially given the current and modern state of America. Everything is a weapon and it's being used against us. Something that I didn't mention really during this exchange is that, I would advocate for a tiered society. And that's kind of what Frank was getting at earlier, not an Indian caste system because we aren't India, but a tiered society where Americans are American and everyone else below can hold citizenship if they want to, right? If they need a piece of paper that tells them that they can be here, then sure, we can come to an agreement right there. And I think that would largely solve the issue that we see with specifically the Second Amendment, but with a lot of amendments in the Constitution and the Constitution itself, right? If the Constitution was meant for Americans, if it was written for Americans by the founders, then I think it should be applied to Americans. And the question is, at the end of the day, is always going to be, what is an American? Frank?
Yeah, and I kind of said my piece on the Second Amendment there. Just know that there's all kinds of weapons nowadays. The Civil War that we think about when it's just guns blazing out in those streets and bodies everywhere, it may or may not be the type of kinetic war that we see. We might see chemical warfare, which we've seen. We might see biological warfare, which we've seen. We might see warfare behind the scenes. There is, I would say, a civil war going on. It's a Cold War, but it's between powers that be. And no matter who wins at the end of that day, it will still be tyranny for the people. So keep and bear arms yourself, protect yourself at all costs, protect your family, and keep on working at being the best American you can be.
Yeah, I would say specifically to the Second Amendment, I think as the conversation evolved, I think the biggest point we could probably take away from it is the fact that guns are increasingly becoming much more of a narrow use case. And as modernity arrives, there are more and more avenues in which we need to defend ourselves, both in terms of regular self-defense, but also the defense of the nation, and also just defense against tyranny at large. And I think probably the biggest takeaway from there would be you need to be good at all things. This singular sole reliance on having a gun in your pocket is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but there's a lot of situations you can be in. You never know when you're going to find yourself. You never know when you're going to need to be able to run a 4.540. There's lots of things that go on. And especially if you have children too, you need to be in tip-top shape. You need to have a gun on you. You need to be also equipped mentally, knowing what's coming at you too. So you need to be a master of all trades, not just one.
Oh, there we go.
I completely agree, guys. I think it's a fruitful discussion. And, on that point, it's like everyone wants to defend the Second Amendment. Everyone wants to plant their feet firmly in the ground and defend the Constitution as the founders wrote it by keeping what is in there rather than getting rid of what was added to it, which maybe that's a better discussion. We can go into detail on another day. But I think it was a good discussion today, guys. We learned a lot about cybersecurity and AI from our good friend of the show, Frank DeTank. Thank you for joining us, Frank. But this has been NAV Founders. Go check out all the channels here. Zeb Boykin, Josh Vandernoor, John Ward, who couldn't be with us today, and Atlas Thugged, all members of the New American Vision. Also, please, $5 a month. Hello. $5 a month, become a member. Like Zeb said, we've got new, badges? We got new badges coming out soon. Go check those out for only $5 a month. Like, subscribe. This has been Founders, and we will catch you guys, hopefully with John Ward, next week.
I stand before you today, a free man. No chains, no masters.
The fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up...
We talk about like the age of information. What we really are in right now is an entertainment age.
They still want to shoot you. They killed Charlie Kirk. They praised it.
They want Donald Trump. They want Chirachik. They want anyone they associate with the right. They want to kill them. They brag about this. They continue on with this. It's been over a month and they're still going on about it. At some point, you got to say, hey, maybe that's me too.
Hello, world champions. I'm John Ward, and today on Breaking News, we are breaking the fake lie continuum. Get ready for 1.21 gigawatts, McFly, because your mind is a boomer expat, and this episode is the Bangkok Ladyboy Softball Club, and hardballs are also okay too. Also that club. Sorry, we know good English. And what I mean by that is, not only is your mind about to be blown more times than a lead in a LeBron James Finals series, it's going to get blown in ways you don't want it to. A horror in the midst of which you will realize this is the real soul crusher. You're paying for it.
A free man, no chains, no
compromise, but it is a compromise nonetheless going to have to be made if we are to ever revamp and rework the system, ultimately in an attempt to circumvent any kind of violent revolution.
This is the future. There is nothing left for us to do. They have taken it away from, they have stolen it from us. They are thieves. They have no idea what is coming.